Some of the Democratic Party's most prominent names are hitting the campaign trail for Terry McAuliffe in the Virginia governor's race. Voting rights activist and former Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams will campaign with McAuliffe Sunday in Norfolk and Northern Virginia. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms will also be supporting him in the battleground city of Richmond. Former President Barack Obama will campaign for McAuliffe next Saturday. McAuliffe will need the help if Democrats are to maintain control of the state. Polling shows him in a statistical dead heat with his Republican opponent, Glenn Youngkin. The results will have sweeping implications for both Democrats and the GOP, meaning that this off-year election is getting national attention. For more on all of this, I'm joined now by Antjuan Seawright and Kevin Sheridan. Antjuan is a CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist. Kevin is a former spokesperson for the Republican National Committee. Good to have both of you gentlemen here with me today. Antjuan, I'm going to start with you. Democrats are bringing out their political heavyweights. That's usually a sign that things are not going well. So what would an upset in Virginia mean for the party in 2022 and beyond?
Well, thank you, Lana, for having me. I'm not going to sit here and wax poetically and tell you that everything is fine. There are two ways to run when it comes to political campaigns. You run unopposed or you run afraid. And I think what Democrats are doing is they're raising the alarm about how high the stakes are in this election, not just for Virginia, not just for the Democratic Party, but for the country. Because regardless of what happens, up and down that ballot in November, there's going to be a lot of people who glean from this race that the fact that what happens in Virginia will set the tone for the 2022 midterms. And so we can't take it for granted. We also know that sometimes it's easier to vote against something than it is to be for something. And so that plays a factor when it comes to any election and when the party's in control. Very few times in history that the gubernatorial race and even the state legislature race, which is very important in Virginia, goes in favor of the parties in control. So you see, quote unquote, the big guns, I call them the most consequential voices in our party, heading to Virginia, elevating how high the stakes are in this election and what a disaster it would be if Republicans were to take control of what happens in Richmond.
So, Kevin, Democrats are concerned, Republicans are cheering, but Youngkin also has an uphill battle. He's trying to maintain the support of Trump loyalists while still trying to attract moderate and independent voters, which are really important there in Virginia. What are the political risks of alienating either of these blocs?
You're right. He does need both blocks, but I think he's done a pretty good job. And overshadowing all of it is the fact that, I think what you're talking about is Donald Trump. And he's not in office right now. Joe Biden is, and he's way underwater with independent voters that swing these elections. They've done it in Virginia now, going back 25 years. In the suburbs, especially, the momentum is for Youngkin right now. That's astonishing. I wouldn't have expected it. Yes, Antjuan's right. Off years are good for, or when the party in power is running. When we're running against the party in power, it's better for us. But right now, we've never seen these kind of numbers with independent voters dropping, 25 points within 2-3 months. It's astonishing. So Terry McAuliffe is a known quantity. He does not need Barack Obama. He does not need the big guns to come in and energize the base. He was governor. Everybody knows what his record was. He should be running on his record. He's not. He's running against a former president. And right now, I just don't think that's going to cut it when Joe Biden and the Democrats are in charge of everything.
So, Kevin, if independents are voting based off of who's in the White House, how much does Youngkin's strategy in running this race serve as a model potentially for other Republicans in particularly the midterm elections where they are really competitive like this?
Yeah, Republicans just have to not be stupid. They should have the momentum going for them in every way going into 2022. They're out of power. They have largely nothing they can do legislatively. Many of them in the Senate have said they would vote for an infrastructure package, but that doesn't seem to be going forward without the $3.5 trillion or whatever it's going to be larger package. So the liberals are holding, or the progressives are holding the Democrats, fate in their hands if they can't get the infrastructure, the $1 trillion infrastructure package then largely I don't see them having anything to run on. Afghanistan was a mess. Obviously, the inflation is going up. We've got the ports backed up and the shelves are bare. So there's nothing for them to run on if they don't pass something now.
All right, Antjuan, you've been shaking your head during this. I know you want to talk about it because McAuliffe, as much as we're talking about the national politics of it all, he's been distancing himself from President Biden in recent weeks, as Biden has been dipping in popularity in the state. With less than 3 weeks until Election Day, what do you make of that strategy?
Well, let me cover a good bit of ground here. First of all, the Fox News poll had the president at 50%. So that means the president is doing fairly well in the state of Virginia. Number two, the president's agenda, including Build Back Better, including the American Survival Act, some of you in the media know it as the American Rescue Plan, continues to have high favorability because it has delivered the promises that this president campaigned on to the American people, Democrats and Republicans, even when Republicans, not even one of them, voted for it. Number three, the fact of the matter is, you're right, Kevin. Terry McAuliffe is a known commodity in the state of Virginia because he delivered for the state of Virginia, from record job growth to economic development to making sure that those who serve their time in the prison system in the state can now have their access to vote, from delivering on health care. You name the quality of life issues, and you and I both know from being around this business, bread and butter issues are the things, are the order of the day when it comes to for the reason people show up to vote. Terry McAuliffe delivered on that, and that's why the people of Virginia, Democrats and Republicans, feel so strongly about him being the next governor, which I do believe he will be the next governor. And also, I would tell you, the president will be going to Virginia again to campaign for future Governor McAuliffe. The First Lady has been there. The President has been there once before, and he'll go again. And also, this is not just about the top of the ticket. I would venture to say that the legislative races in the state of Virginia are just as consequential as those at the top of the ticket. So what happens upstream is just as important as what happens downstream.
And vice versa. But Antjuan, there are concerns that Democrats in Virginia aren't enthusiastic about this particular race. I want our control room to put up that poll, the latest poll that shows how enthusiastic Republicans are versus Democrats there in Virginia. As you can see, Youngkin voters, 50% are enthusiastic of vote, compared to only 44% for McAuliffe voters. So given everything that you're saying, Antjuan, about McAuliffe's record and how he's tried to make his case to the Virginia electorate, why isn't the party more energized?
Well, Lana, as I wrote in an op-ed piece about a different issue earlier this week, it's much easier to be upset than informed. And I think that the people who are upset and the people who are pissed off about how, in their minds, this system is not working for them because of so much noise in the ecosystem are the people that are captured in polls like the ones you just referenced. At the end of the day, I do believe the people of Virginia, those who do understand how important this race is for the country and for the state, those who know the relationship Governor McAuliffe and the Democratic majority in Virginia have had with the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, I believe those people will be the ones who show up on Election Day. I'm not going to tell you that Republican turnout may not be enthusiastic at this point, but what I also tell you is that the most consequential voting blocks in this country, in particular black and brown voters in Virginia, will be just as motivated as some of the people you reference as being, I guess, upset, or in the South, as we say, pissed off about what is happening around the country, so their enthusiasm blows a different way.
I don't think that's exclusively a Southern Southern phrase there, Antjuan. Kevin, I'm going to ask you about the polls because they also show that many Republican voters believe false claims about the 2020 election. Youngkin made election integrity a key campaign issue early on, but it's been focusing on other topics lately, perhaps a convenient pivot given the voters there and that attempt to woo those independent voters. What do you make of that shift, and how might that also be a strategy for Republicans across the country?
He needs to stick to the issue of education. that is really making inroads with, as Antjuan says, peed-off parents in the suburbs, especially. So you're right. We don't want to be talking about issues of January 6th. That's not helpful to Republicans. Obviously, that's an issue that's going to be problematic for any Republican running right now. So Democrats have handed Republicans a huge favor, though. They largely screwed up everything in 9 months, 10 months. So Republicans just have to not be crazy, not get in their own way, and I think we'll have a very good November.
All right, Antjuan Seawright, Kevin Sheridan, always a pleasure to have both of you joining me. Thanks.
Thank you.